Hello UCE parents, friends, young people. Welcome to our last week on our theme of becoming. Let's start by lighting the chalice. This week we focus on the segments at the bedside, the extra mile, and blessing. At the bedside is stories for telling at bedtime. And this month we have two options. The first one is a story from our Unitarian Universalist Association's Tapestry of Faith program. There's a link to it in your packet, but I will tell it here. And this is a story about how social justice becomes a part of us. And it's called Peace Begins With Me. And it is an interview done with a young man named Raziq Brown, who at the time was 19 years old when he was interviewed. He won an award called the Mary Ella Holst Award that's given out by the Unitarian Universalist Association for young activists. And he has traveled all over the world at his young age. It's pretty cool. And so in this interview, Raziq says, I started attending anti-racism and anti-oppression workshops when I was 14 years old. That's when I met ministers who said they were involved in social justice. I had heard the term social justice before, but I really didn't know what that meant. Then I went to Sierra Leone in Africa, which is where my mom is from. Freetown, Sierra Leone was eerily like a serf system. You had people who had money, and the only way people without money could get money was to work for the people who had the money, as servants or whatever. I visited at Christmas, and this opened my eyes to how socialized and corporatized Christmas is in the United States. Don't get me wrong, I love Christmas. But at the time, Sierra Leone was the poorest nation in the world. And I had seen poverty before, but I had never seen poverty like that before. There was no sanitation. The electricity went in and out, and there were literally kids starving in the streets. Christmas in that setting was completely different. I had these feelings of knowing that I wanted to do something, but what could I do? I was only 15 at the time. I could have given away all of my money to people in the streets, but then there would have been more people asking for more money the next day. I believed that the world was really great, but I was seeing that the world wasn't the same for everybody, like it should be, which got me thinking. Then one day, at a house down the road from where my aunt lived, I saw that a little boy was really cut up after falling out of a tree. He was probably 3 years old, and I asked his older brother, who was probably about 18 years old, to take him to the hospital. It turns out the family didn't have any money. Well, I saw the little boy a few times over the next couple of days, and he wasn't looking good at all. And then I walked past their house, and I saw this little boy lying in a pool of his own vomit with flies flying all around him, and he was green. He had gangrene. And it just hit me. Oh, this is how little kids die. This is what high child mortality rate looks like. This is something that actually happens in the world. And I went straight to my aunt, who I knew had the money, and asked her to help this family by giving them money for the hospital. She did, and 3 days later, this little boy is running around like nothing happened. And that's how I started to figure out what social justice means. And that it begins with me, with all of us. To me, peace isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about making tough decisions. I look at the 7 principles as a litmus test. They don't tell you what to do. No higher power figures it out for you. You can't take the easy way out. You've got to figure it out for yourself. So what an inspiration, huh? He's still a young man, not as young as he was when he was interviewed. And in the packet, I put a link to a short video you can watch of him talking. So feel free to check that out. But as far as the story goes, there are some questions in the packet that you can talk about with your children at bedtime. There are questions meant for younger kids and questions for older kids. For the younger kids, one of the questions is, what do you think social justice means? If you saw someone who was hurt, like Raziq did, who would you ask to help you to get help for that person? Or how would you help them yourself? Your parents might have a story from your own childhood or youth where you were in a situation where you could help someone. And this might be a great time to share it. For older children, some questions to ask are, what are you most excited about our society becoming more of or less of? And if you could help fix one thing in this world, what would it be and why? Would helping to fix that thing help you become who you are becoming? Then the next story mentioned in our packet is called Odd and the Frost Giants. And it's a very long story, although you can purchase it or get it through your library as an audiobook. It's about an hour and a half long. And in the packet there is a link to a reading of it. The link is done by an artist named Caleb Cleveland, who illustrates the entire novel as he reads it aloud. So that might be kind of fun to watch, maybe in short segments. And then in our packet there are some discussion questions related to that story. So feel free to check that out. Our next segment is the extra mile. And this is if you have time in your week or in the month to do a little more than we've done so far in the packet. And it's focused on butterflies. This is the time of year where we start to see butterflies. You might see monarch butterflies migrating back north. So they're pretty cool to watch. And they're a perfect example of becoming and transforming, wouldn't you say? So in our packet, there is a link to raising butterflies. And you can do some searching on the internet of your own if you like, and find places to buy little butterfly kits from. You may even find them in stores. And the idea is to watch the caterpillars, make their chrysalis and then become butterflies. It's a little bit of a cost to do that, on the internet and purchase it by mail, but it's not too terrible. And of course you can always make your own little cage out of materials you have around your house and put caterpillars in. Some interesting questions though that come up in the packet related to butterflies. One is, are the caterpillar and the butterfly the same person? As not that they're really people, but are they the same? One becomes the other, and yet they have two different sets of DNA. I did not know this. So if that is true, how are they different or the same? And how does that make us uniquely us? The packet also asks you to consider how butterflies are becoming more endangered as a result of climate change and human habitat effects. So what can we do to help these important parts of our web of life stay in our environment and do their part? What can we do to help? You may want to consider visiting a butterfly garden too. I don't know if there is a specific one in the Chicagoland area. I have a feeling there is. I'm just not thinking of it off the top of my head. So figure you can check for something like that on the internet, I'm sure. Maybe something at local zoos and parks. But to be in a butterfly garden with hundreds of butterflies and to have them land on you is a special honor, in my opinion. So if you can do that sometime, you should try it. And the last segment of our packet is our blessing. A little prayer of sorts to end the month, or you can use this prayer at bedtime whenever you feel like it. You could even use it as a chalice lighting if you want. And so our blessing is called the blessing of becoming. What is becoming of us, beloved? We ask this again and again with care and curiosity. What is becoming of us? As we change inevitably, sometimes uncomfortably, may we choose dynamism over stubbornness, transformation over sameness, possibility over status quo. May we flow instead of calcify, remembering there are paths away from mistakes, and we can always make more room for those joining the current. May we reach toward one another and toward interdependence. May we seek and make contact in community as if our lives depend on it, which of course they do. May we lead with love and carry grace. Becoming is hard work, and people doing hard things often struggle to be at their best. May we accept the blessing and responsibility of becoming for our world, our communities, and our own spirits thrive on nothing less. Love to our bodies in their becoming. Love to our minds in their becoming. Love to our spirits in their becoming. And love to our people, ancestral, present, and yet to be. For our shared future becomes even more blessed and beautiful in our remembering of our interconnection. And with that, I'll extinguish the chalice. And until next time, blessed be.